In the Liberal Party, we talk amongst ourselves. We share our perspectives. We're open about our united desire to make sure that Pierre Poilievre doesn't get the chance to cut the programs and services that Canadians are relying on in this time of affordability crises. So yeah, we're going to continue to have great conversations about what is the best way to take on Pierre Poilievre in the next election, but that'll happen with me as leader going into the next election.
Nice to know, eh? Ha! It's all about Justin Trudeau. It's always about Justin Trudeau. There you go. And there you have it. That is part of what we're talking about today. We're going to get to the immigration story. But what is really going on with Justin Trudeau's head right now? When we come back, more about that.
So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need political change, but we also need the resolve to resist.
Yes, Sasha the Cat always said, please like this station now. We are beating YouTube suppression, YouTube censorship, and Justin Trudeau censorship. And I say again, as we've all been watching the caucus revolt this week, as we've all been watching what happened with immigration yesterday, we'll get to that story in a minute. What happened in the House of Commons on Wednesday? Second reading for Bill C-63. I know there's a lot of you out there concerned about this bill. This is the Online Harms Act, which will censor free speech beyond recognition in Canada. And I'm not just talking about hate speech, whatever that is. That is determined by whomever has the power to define it, meaning the Trudeau government, because hate speech can mean anything. I won't get into the particulars right now, but that's also the bill that has the thought crimes component. Yeah, house arrest for maybe thinking something bad, maybe intending to say something bad. House arrest. That bill hit second reading this week. I didn't hear a peep out of any of the Conservatives who are considering some sort of alternate bill. This is very bad. There has to be vigorous debate on this bill when it comes up. It went up for second reading this week. This is bad. There's another reason why I don't believe Justin Trudeau is going to prorogue Parliament, because he wants these bills intact. There's a lot of crazy legislation in front of the House of Commons right now. He wants that legislation passed, not crushed in a prorogue, which would happen. Anyway, I can't believe Justin Trudeau. Let's watch him say again, after all he's been through this week. Sorry, you couldn't. That was not audible on, but you heard it. You heard it earlier. He is me. It's all about me. Now, let's have a look at this here. This is what we're hearing about caucus. At the start of caucus, Trudeau delivered a roughly 20-minute opening speech during which he admitted he hadn't slept the night before. In anticipation of the meeting, he became emotional with tears in his eyes as he spoke about the toll the situation has taken on his family. What, family? Yeah. Source, The Hill Times, October 23rd, 2024. Don't you feel awful for poor Justin? Yeah, he's crying again. It's just never see. Is it that nobody understands this poor man? All of the families across Canada who are losing homes because of high interest rates, who can't afford their rent because apartments are so costly, who are at food banks because they can't afford to go to the grocery store. Now, I think that's taking a toll on families. Is it really taking a toll? Because there's a petition out there circulating amongst your caucus saying you really should resign because your unpopularity is hurting everybody. That's enough to keep Justin Trudeau awake at nights. So what does he do? He goes to caucus and cries the crocodile tears, puts on another fine performance. Justin Trudeau never had a professional acting job as an actor. He was a drama teacher at high school. He's never really done a professional job of acting on the stage or in film, on television. Well, he does one on television every day. But what I'm saying is his acting job has been as Prime Minister of Canada. And when he pulls out all the stops and he lets the emotions and the tears flow, it's an acting job. It's a performance. And he does that very well. I'm sure a lot of you in your lives have had some experience with somebody who is an addict, who has a problem with alcohol or drugs, and is not come to the point in their life where he or she is willing to give it up, or he or she recognizes there's a problem. And they will do anything to convince you that it's not going to happen again. There's going to be a difference. They're going to change. And this is what Justin Trudeau's doing. This is the act he's doing right now. Folks, I know it's been bad. I know I have been a little bit difficult to deal with. I know I've been a little focused on my own ego. I know my policies are pretty lacking. All I want to talk about is that free lunch for school kids and free birth control. And oh yeah, and that dental care that really isn't applicable to too many Canadians. But things will be different. And in the future, you can trust me. You can rely on me. And by the way, I'm the only solution for the next election. You're only going to win with me because my name's Justin Trudeau. I am like Louis XIV, the Sun King. I used to talk about sunny ways. Now I talk about the Sun King. And l'état, c'est moi. Justin Trudeau believes he is the government. He is the Liberal Party. Where have I heard? There was another guy in history who used to say that he and the state were one, he and the party were one, and he and the people were one. Yeah, it didn't really work out for him either. And Justin Trudeau, of course, really believes this. He is the personification of the state, the party, and the people. And I think if you've heard that, those three elements put in the same phrase with one man representing them all, you might remember what that was. So what does Justin Trudeau do? It's time to change the channel again. Even though, don't for a minute think this is over for Justin Trudeau, that these MPs are going to go hide under a rock someplace. They mentioned last week that if Trudeau considers things and nothing changes, there are going to be consequences. Now, what might those consequences be? Let's have a look here. This is excellent.
Mr. Take enough time to decide on whether he should stay or go? Do you feel he took enough time to reflect?
No, I don't. But I don't think that he felt that he needed to reflect at all. I think his mind was made up.
What do you make of that?
Disappointing.
So what does this mean for you next?
Well, what it means for me is that this is a decision that he had every right to make, and he made it. I did my job by voicing what I was hearing from my constituents. Now I've got to take my energy and direct them to winning my seat and not on internal party matters. As far as I'm concerned, it's closed.
What happens next with the dissenters and the caucus who don't agree that this case is closed?
I can only tell you what happens next for this dissenter, and I just did. I'm going to focus on winning my seat and not on this. And the others will have to speak for themselves.
Do you think, though, I mean, is there some way forward with the Prime Minister? I mean, there has to be. I'm just sort of wondering, is he seeing something that you're not seeing? Or is he being delusional and thinking that he can win this thing?
I wouldn't call it delusional, but he's seeing something that
Well, no, he wouldn't with the cameras on. I bet you Sean Casey thinks it's delusional when the cameras aren't on, though. Anybody taking an objective look at this would say this is delusional.
I don't see, that my constituents don't see.
Is there any market amongst the people you're talking to? Is there any way for him to rehabilitate his brand and get people to listen to him?
They don't think so. That's what I'm getting.
Okay, so Sean Casey's saying, Well, I guess I better focus on my own reelection, but I'm not going to get reelected if Justin Trudeau is in charge. So do you see a disconnect here? I do. I don't think we're hearing the whole story from Mr. Casey, which obviously is going to continue to unfold. Let's listen to a bit
Maybe
more.
they're wrong. And maybe he's wrong.
Thank you for the Prime Minister coming out some 18 hours after the fact saying he's going to stay on.
Disappointed. I expected him to reflect, or we expected him to reflect for the weekend. I mean, it was kind of given a date of October 28th to come back to the group with an answer, and that's a pretty quick response. I think he needs more reflection. You know, ultimately, it's his choice. I'm just personally disappointed that it's less than really, 20 hours after many of us told him he had to, or we thought he needed to step down. He told us he would reflect. It's a pretty quick reflection, and I think he needs to reflect more. The reason I'm doing this is because I care so much about the party. I want us to be around in the future, and I think where we're heading is not on a good path. I mean, you see what happened to Kathleen Wynne's Liberals in 2018, and
Yeah, he's actually thinking about his own political future, but he's thinking about the future of his colleagues who are going to lose their seats. So that is really what Wayne Long is thinking about. And is he finished? I don't think so. I don't think so. But this goes back to what I've been saying for a long time. Justin Trudeau will stay on as leader because he insists he will. There's no mechanism in the Liberal Party to get rid of him. It doesn't matter if all 150 odd MPs in his caucus rebel and want him out. He's not going to leave. And he wants an election. We saw that interview with Liberal MP Nate Erskine Smith, the guy with the drawing room comedy name. He told Erskine Smith that he is, quote, roaring to go into another election. And you watch, Justin Trudeau will want that election sooner rather than later. And the dynamics right now are perfect for a non-confidence vote. There's going to be some MPs, Liberal MPs. No, they're not talking about it on the street, but there are MPs who will vote against their own government in a non-confidence vote. The Bloc ultimatum expires on Monday. They will be voting against the government. Jagmeet Singh is increasingly looking like he wants to go for it because he thinks this next election will make him not the prime minister. He's not that stupid. He knows the NDP is not going to win the next election, but he thinks the NDP could take official opposition status away from the Conservatives, which of course are going to be the government. So that's what's going on in the minds of these politicians. And it's so true. It's always self-interest that guides the policies and steps of politicians anywhere. So that's what's going on. The dynamics are very acute for a non-confidence motion in the next week or two and for this government to fall. And Justin Trudeau will be leading that party into the next election. Unless, of course, we have a Joe Biden phenomena where the donors in the Liberal Party tell Trudeau it's over, get out, no more money. That could also be a possibility. But we're running out of time for that. But that is where we are at. So what did Trudeau do? Okay, so he promised his caucus, you're going to get something different from me. I'm going to change. I'm not just going to be offering birth control pills, insulin, and something called a dental care plan. I'm going to give you what you want on immigration. At least some of the caucus are really mad about this. But we'll listen to some of what Justin Trudeau said yesterday about immigration.
Words, and thank you for your hard work as Parliamentary Secretary on immigration. Bonjour tout le monde. Good morning, everyone. In a moment, Minister Miller will be detailing our immigration plan. Before he does, I want to say a few things. Canadians are justifiably proud of our immigration system. It has made our economy the envy of the world. It's how we've built strong, diverse communities. It's how we've demonstrated that differences can and must be a source of strength, not a source of weakness for communities and society.
Okay, there he is. Do you believe this? Here he is. He's just gone through a caucus revolt. He's just decided, I'm in charge. And he's talking diversity is our strength again. He didn't quite say it, but but there it is. He's paraphrased his own garbage. And he'll go on like this.
Immigration is vital to our future. And as a federal government, we have to make sure that that pride, that faith in immigration is not undermined. We've been through a hard time these past few years. COVID stopped everything. When we started to emerge from it, workers were in short supply, things we needed weren't going to market, and prices started going up. So we acted. We made sure that our businesses had workers. Our economy got moving again, and we actually experienced the fastest jobs recovery after the pandemic in the G7. Now, it is time to make the adjustments to stabilize the immigration system that we need and get it working right for Canadians for right now. Today, we're announcing that we will reduce the number of immigrants we bring in over the next 3 years, which will result in a pause in the population growth over the next 2 years.
Well, it certainly will result in a pause in the population growth, given the fact that Trudeau wants abortions faster than anything else occurring, and euthanasia. So the whole justification for his so-called population growth through immigration was because he wants babies destroyed as quickly as possible and lives ended through euthanasia. So that's why he's bringing in more people. So there seems to be, again, this is clearly a desperate political move. And so we're going, and we'll see the figures in a minute. So he's slashing immigration by 21%. So, but it's permanent residents. And we're not talking about the students who come in every year, a million of those. But this is a plan on paper, again, because it's not going to come into effect until when? After the next election. This is just like Mark Miller's immigration cap. Remember that? Mark Miller promised an immigration cap, but after the next election, when, of course, they can decide we're in for another 4 years. Let's go back to mass immigration. That's exactly what they'll do. This is a temporary solution for Trudeau to appease some members of the caucus who say, you've got to do something about immigration. My constituents are furious about this. It's causing huge housing and job problems, housing shortages, lack of jobs, ghettoization in the cities. Do something about it, Justin. So he's done something about it. But it's really a Band-Aid solution. And it's not even going to happen right now. It's another year away, which, of course, where are we in 2025 this time? We've definitely had the next election. So this is a facade. That's all this is about. Listen to a bit more, Justin.
Aujourd'hui, on annonce qu'on réduira le nombre
more.
d'immigrants qu'on accueille au cours des 3 prochaines années, ce qui entraînera une pause dans la croissance de la population au cours des 2 prochaines années. This builds on our previously announced measures to cap international student permits and reform the temporary foreign worker program, all of which we are implementing with a single aim: stabilize our population growth to give all levels of government time to catch up, time to make the necessary investments in health care, in housing, in social services to accommodate more people in the future. Our immigration system.
All right, that's enough. Let's have a look at the chart. Here is the immigration by the numbers. 2025 decreased permanent resident intake from 48,500 or 485,000, excuse me, to 395,000. 2026 cut intake to 380,000. 2027 cut intake to 365,000. These numbers, again, are all projected for the future, when Trudeau hopes he'll be reelected in 2025. So don't take any of this too seriously. This is the usual grandstanding nonsense from Justin Trudeau. Now, in the time we have remaining, I want to turn to something which I think is revolutionary in the extreme. This proposal by Republican presidential nominee, former President Donald Trump. Trump is talking about getting rid of income taxes, getting rid of them. You say, well, that's crazy. No, there was a time in the U.S. history when there were no income taxes. There were other taxes, excise taxes, tariffs, other means of raising revenue other than screwing the individual with horrendous taxation that is killing people, sometimes literally. Sometimes literally. So let's watch this fascinating interview with Donald Trump at a town hall with barbers.
Extra revenue we're going to be bringing into the country. So do you believe at some point in time we could find a way, once the country's back on its feet and getting enough revenue and paid off our debt, do you think it's possible to find a way to eliminate federal taxes?
There is a way.
And how do you feel about it?
You know, in the old days, when we were a smart country, in the 1890s and all, this is when the country was relatively the richest it ever was. It had all tariffs. It didn't have an income tax.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Now we have income taxes, and we have people that are dying. They're paying tax, and they don't have the money to pay the tax. No, in the old days, 1890, 1880, we had so much money, they had to set up committees, blue ribbon committees, how to spend our wealth. We had no idea how to spend it with so much money. Then we went to the income tax system, and the rest is sort of history. But no, there is a way. I mean, if what I'm planning comes out, it's a great question, by the way.
Everyone could attain the
You're a pretty
American
sophisticated cat, you know?
Everyone could attain the American dream if it wasn't for the high cost, the burden of high taxes, and
Everything.
we're taxed at every step of the way.
Yeah.
When we make it, when
And
we spend
regulations. And regulations. So I cut more regulations in 4 years than any other president by 4 times. Yeah, let's go. You were going to ask one question.
So that is a brilliant idea. Now we're not hearing that in Canada at all. It's, we got a little more. There's that. Yeah, I mean, this is revolutionary. Jack Posobiec talked about this yesterday. And of course, I work with Jack Posobiec for Human Events and the Post Millennial, one of the leading cutting edge people on small c conservatism out there. Encourage you to read his material. And Donald Trump came out yesterday on Truth Social and said, I am not proposing a national sales tax, as the Democrats say. He's not proposing an HST in Canada, as the Democrats say in their advertisements against me. Dems know what they are saying is a blatant lie. I am proposing tariffs on other countries that take advantage of us hardly. NST is what they would call it in the States, national sales tax. These tariffs are paid for by the abusing country, not the American consumer. They do not cause inflation and will make America rich again. Very, very interesting. And I think that is, what else we have here? Oh yeah. Should have shown this. This is a late breaking slide here. The non-permanent residence is what Trudeau is not talking about in this immigration bill or this immigration policy. That's going to continue to go upwards, as this Elon Musk post from X demonstrates. So anyway, back in our final minutes, let's talk about this U.S. election. It's less than 2 weeks away, November 5th. What do I think is going to happen? Every stop is being pulled out to discredit and destroy Donald Trump in this last week and a half. We had another groping story yesterday. Why do these people wait until like a week before the election to announce Donald Trump groped me? I'm not casting aspersions on this woman. I'm not saying either way whether it's true. I'm just asking, why did you wait till now to come out with another grope? I mean, this happens every election cycle. And of course, his former chief of staff, a former 4-star Marine general, John Kelly, went to the New York Times and absolutely tried to discredit Donald Trump by saying he besmirched the reputation of veterans. He made fun of Americans who died in foreign wars. He said nice things about Adolf Hitler. He said Adolf Hitler did good things. He admired Hitler's generals. And it is just astounding. And Kelly compared Trump to a fascist, says he's authoritarian, says he has no concept of the American Constitution, no concept of the relationship of the executive power to the judicial, to the legislative, that he's an ignorant man. He has no conception of what a president should be. And of course, John Kelly waited until 2 weeks before the election. This is all part of the last-minute effort to destroy Donald Trump, just like they've tried for the last 4 years to destroy this man through lawfare, through judicial persecution, because Kamala Harris is crazy in terms of her policy, which amounts to what? Wait and see. You just wait and see what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop this price gouging. And if you've never owned a home before, $25,000 towards your down payment as the price of new homes goes up by $25,000. When she says that, she has no economic policy. Last week she said she's going to give amnesty to all illegals and not deport any of them. That's a recipe, of course, for disaster, but for the hegemony of the Democratic Party in America's future. That's what Kamala Harris is all about. Destroying America for the globalists. Now, Trump has his problems, and I've said so in the past. I don't trust him on his Middle East policy. I don't trust him on Ukraine at times. Yeah, he's reckless at times. But you know what you're getting with Donald Trump, and you know this man understands economics. You know this man understands common sense philosophy. You know this man understands the average American because he'd worked with them over the years. And he is the only choice Americans really have on November 5th. And I like the fact he's surrounded by people like Robert F. Kennedy Jr., by Tulsi Gabbard, by people who have been in the Democratic Party and left because they know it's morally reprehensible and it's a policy vacuum that will grab at anything. But why are people like John Kelly? Why are people like Dick Cheney and other rhinos, other Republicans supporting Kamala Harris, a quasi-Marxist? Why? And I encourage you to read my piece in Human Events, which should be up today, which deals with this. Why are all of these lifelong anti-communists supporting Kamala Harris? Now, John Kelly didn't say go out and vote for Kamala Harris, but he might as well have said that by saying don't vote for Donald Trump. Who else is on the ballot? So this is crazy. These lifelong anti-communists want Donald Trump destroyed and they want Kamala Harris to win. Why? Because Donald Trump has talked about stopping foreign wars. He's talked about peace in the world, getting back to focusing on trade, not invading other countries. That's what they don't want. Because what matters more to them than their anti-communism is their money, is their bank accounts, and their dividends that they're getting from corporations like Boeing and Raytheon, McDonnell Douglas, the military-industrial complex that feeds off these foreign wars, makes billions of dollars off of it, and dispenses it to politicians and so-called anti-communists like Dick Cheney, the owner. He was the prime motivator of Halliburton. He has made his money in the oil industry, and he's made his money off foreign wars. And that's what's going on here. That's why these people don't want Donald Trump elected on November 5th or re-elected on November 5th. And that's why their military-industrial complex means much more to them than fighting communism. Destroying Donald Trump means much more to them than not having Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States. And that's sick. We'll have more tomorrow. I'll be back giving you all the news you need to know so that we can continue to resolve to resist. And remember, we're in this battle together. I haven't forgotten that, and that's something I never will forget. So join me again tomorrow as we continue to fight the good battle for truth, yes, and justice, and the real Canadian way. Thanks for watching.